Grace and peace, everybody. We are back. And what are we laughing about, Jason? Jason, what you laughing about? What's the story about today? You didn't give me a thumbnail. You didn't give me a title. What in the world is happening? Well, it's funny that we've forgotten about this story. I admit, you probably have not. You probably don't even remember this story. And the story I'm referring to is the 9 inmates that escaped from the New Orleans Parish jail. And they allegedly cut through the bars and dug out through the wall, and they got away. And there was one guy that was still out, and his name was Derek Groves. And I was supposed to do an experiment where I tried to see if you could cut through some rebar with some clipper blades. Remember that? And because that's allegedly how they got out of jail, right? Well, I never did do that. And I was sitting at church. There's a gentleman in my church who's into construction. He works in construction. And he said, "Hey, Jason, I got that rebar back in the trunk, back of the truck. I never gave it to you." And he just said that to me Sunday. And I'm like, man, I forgot all about that story. And I said, man, I said, that dude probably is in Belize at this point, man. Who even cares anymore? Nobody cares. He said, man, I bet you he's still in New Orleans. He hasn't even gotten anywhere. I said, that would be the worst, man. He's been gone for like 5 or 6 months, and he's not left New Orleans. I said, that's terrible. Lo and behold, today, right now, just a few minutes ago, they caught Derek Groves. I cannot believe where they caught Derek Groves. I am just undone. Jason, why are you undone? They caught him in Atlanta. Let's bring this up. Let's go. I can't believe this, man. Atlanta is not a real place. We're just not real. We're just not. Derek Groves, the New Orleans Parish inmate, was caught in Atlanta. I can't believe this.
Sources, we're all, as reporters, trying to figure out what those details are, trying to get that information so that we can bring it to you and bring you the very latest as we continue this breaking news.
What is that vehicle?
Cut in for everyone out there. You can see lots of heavily armored vehicles. Just take a look at this on your screen right now.
What is that thing?
This is another heavily armored vehicle that's positioned in and around this house and this neighborhood in Southwest Atlanta. So huge law enforcement presence. I know if I'm one of the neighbors in that area, I'm wondering what in the world is going on there, especially since this has ties to New Orleans, not actually Atlanta. So the residents are probably very shocked about what they're seeing this afternoon. You can see, though, if you look at the different vests of these law enforcement officers, look, you can see Atlanta police right there. There's a police cruiser for them. So that's an indication that Atlanta police for Atlanta proper are involved in this operation. You can see the SWAT vehicles are being moved. What we do know, from our law enforcement sources is that, again, this is happening and unfolding before your eyes right now in this Southwest Atlanta neighborhood.
Atlanta is just not real.
But we do have some new.
Real quick, because it's been so long that people don't even remember this story. And there were 9 inmates in New Orleans that escaped out of the jail. It was the biggest jailbreak in history, really, I think, in the United States. 9 inmates escaped at the same time. And slowly but surely, they picked off like 5 of them. Then they picked off, 6, and then they got 7. Then there was 2 left. There was a guy who had a lot of face tattoos, and then this normal looking guy named Derek Groves. Well, we were all betting who would they catch first, the guy with the face tattoos or the normal looking guy. I had my money on Derek Groves. Well, they caught the face tattoo guy some time ago. And this guy, I think we just literally forgot. I was doing an update every night about this guy or update on the whole case, because it was so fun, so interesting to find out how they slipped through this, allegedly dug themselves out of this jail. It was the most Shawshank Redemption 2025 you've ever seen. Well, this guy, they haven't shown his face yet, but this is the gentleman, and he's here in Atlanta. We are unserious. How did he get all the way over here, y'all? Oh, Atlanta's
Information coming in. Mike
unserious.
McDaniel is joining me here in the studio. We're going to continue to look at this live picture. But Mike, just tell us what we have new
Marshal!
information-wise in terms of what's going on there in Atlanta.
Yeah, and so in regards to some of those sources, they did tell us that he was walked out in handcuffs. So
Okay.
that does tell us apparently he is in good condition. Considering everything that's going on, you had all the gassing going on, you had him surrounded, barricaded, whatever the case may have been. So he seems to be fine, as opposed to being walked out in handcuffs. We have gotten a statement from the district attorney, Jason Williams, here in the Orleans Parish. I'm going to read that for you here. Today we have confirmed the escape inmate Derek Groves has been captured in Atlanta, Georgia, following a standoff at a residence in southwest Atlanta after nearly 5 months on the run after his escape from Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office custody on May 16th, 2025.
Okay.
Now, he goes on to say Groves' escape represented a serious breach of public safety. You've been talking about that. Of course, the historic failure, as we've seen when it comes to custodial security there at the jail. His capture brings a long way to come to victims, their families, the witnesses who testified, the assistant district attorneys who prosecuted him, and the people of New Orleans who were rightly concerned that a convicted violent offender had escaped so easily and evaded justice for so long. And that brings another section to the fold here, is the people who were the victims.
Absolutely.
Of him, the people who testified against him.
All right, so real quick, and I'll drop the link. Oh, here he is. There we go.
You've managed to find out so far.
That's Derek. That's, man. Oh, he does have tattoos on his neck, but I mean, he just looked like a normal dude. I'm trying to figure out, I need to know how Derek Groves got here to Atlanta. Atlanta, oh my gosh, we must be stopped. We need to stop letting criminals into ATL. That's crazy. From New Orleans? How did he get here?
Yeah, honestly, that it's a very fast moving situation right now, Katie. I'm here at the jail, like you mentioned, and outside it seems kind of like business as usual, but I would imagine inside the sheriff's office and beyond these walls, I'm sure they are scrambling. I'm sure they were happy to have some finality to this situation that's been happening for 5 months. 5 months. It's kind of crazy. It feels like it was yesterday, but also a year ago. We've been dealing with this in New Orleans for so long. And Derek Groves, of course, the last inmate to be found. Now we know he was in Atlanta. Several of those escaped inmates, though, were found kind of quickly after we heard the news. We know that there was a huge scene in the French Quarter a few hours after they escaped, and some of those inmates were found there. Some inmates found in other states, but Derek Groves has been the one inmate they seemingly, had some issues and trouble locating specifically, but now we know that has come to an end. That day back in May 16th, was extremely hectic. Now, we know that the escape began in the early morning, hours before several people and most people across the city and the state knew what was happening. We know now that the escape happened or started around 12:30 in the morning that day, when they were, we've seen the video of them kind of pulling on that doors for several minutes. It seems like we know once they were able to breach that door, they were able to pull a toilet off of the wall. And after, we've all seen those pictures of the hole in the wall with the drawings that say "too easy" on the wall. We now know that, once they were able to get out of the jail, they escaped through a loading dock. They scaled a wall and then ran across the interstate. This again happened all in the early morning hours of May 16th, but we didn't really know what was happening until much later, and that has been a huge point of contention in this situation. The delay of notification. Now, we saw in the days after the escape, Sheriff Hudson and several law enforcement agencies go to City Council to present information on this. And the big question was, where was that delay in information, and why wasn't the public, the news, city leaders, state leaders,
why is he in my city,
told about this huge breach in the jail? So that still has been a point of discussion in the past 5 months, and I'm sure will continue to be a point of discussion. Because of that, we've heard Sheriff Susan Hudson say that there has been several safety and issues with things like locks in the jail, and she's been mentioning that for a long time. But again, that has been a point of discussion throughout all of this, and a question to the city council: are you going to help fund this? Are you going to help get things done that we need in the jail to prevent things like this from happening again. So still a lot of questions to be answered in that. But again, this has been such a long situation, 5 months now, coming to an end. Now, again,
crazy.
9 inmates who escaped but had been refound, whether it was in New Orleans or across state lines, they have all now been sitting in a state facility. We've seen pictures and we know from state officials that after they were recaptured, they were taken to a state facility with what they officials say is better security, so they can essentially keep a better eye on them. So these cases are still wrapping up, but of course we'll continue to follow them. Katie, back to you.
Yeah, lots of great context and additional information there from Alyssa. I know you're going to continue to work your sources as well.
That is
as
a
this
crazy
whole situation
story.
Unfolds. I'm here with Mike McDaniel. If you're just
There it
joining
is.
us, escapee Derek Groves has been recaptured in Southwest Atlanta. Now take a look at this, Mike. This is what we believe to be,
him, right there
Derek
in the back
Groves.
Of that cruiser in Atlanta.
Not sure?
Where?
Not 100% sure, but we do believe that that could possibly be him being taken away from the scene there. We're going to slow down the video just to kind of give you a look. And we've seen the mugshot that we've been using of Derek Groves, and it could be.
Their audio is
We're
off.
still waiting on law enforcement officials to confirm that of course, is in fact him. Of course, 5 months ago when this all happened, you even had the district attorney, Jason Williams, come out and say that he was personally afraid of Derek Groves being on the loose because he tried this case tried those murder cases along with a couple of other
that could be him.
lawyers as well. And they left the state.
They did.
Because out of fear of retaliation in some way.
Yes.
And hopefully if this, of course, is
That's
Derek Groves,
crazy.
which we do believe it is, that this can kind
What
of
is he
give them
doing
some
in
type of
Atlanta?
resolve forward.
Yeah, absolutely, including all of the witnesses and people who've cooperated with law enforcement.
That
in the
could be
cases.
him, yeah.
You know, this was not Derek Groves' first conviction either, so there have been other convictions that he has been in prison for in the past. And so, you know, a lot of people had been on edge when this happened 5 months ago and for the last 5 months as this has unfolded. I'll be interested to see if we can hear what that person is saying, if that is Derek Groves, who was in the back of that police cruiser. Apparently, our people at the scene, some reporters saw him being taken out in handcuffs. So as far as
Yo,
we
I have
know,
no
he
idea
was
why the
not
audio is
injured
so
as he was taken
like
into custody.
delayed.
It appeared to be right there.
No. And law enforcement sources have said to me that, you know, they really had to search for him, that he may have been hiding in a crawl space underneath a home. Whether or not that was the initial home that they had responded to, that they used gas in, it's unclear. Wow. Those details hopefully will be coming out in the next little bit.
And look, there's a 5-month gap of what was happening, right? Who was helping him?
Yes.
We know that he didn't get to Atlanta just on his own.
He ain't walk.
Whose home was it? Somebody knew where he was at some point, and that's going to be a big question law enforcement is going to be asking. How many people along the way actually helped him escape and keep him under wraps? Because
So real quick, there's a lot of people jumping in. Thank you very much to the 75 that just hopped in. I know I didn't give you a thumbnail. I didn't give you a title. There's no pre-warning. The 9 New Orleans inmates that escaped New Orleans back in May, so 5 months ago. Lo and behold, there was one gentleman left. There was 9 to start, one made it, right? They caught him in Atlanta of all places. I'm just undone. Atlanta's not real. Atlanta is not real. How in the world did he get here? Now, granted, he was in Southwest Atlanta because there's a lot of brown faces down there. He probably just blended in. But how in the world did he get here? Who? I cannot take Atlanta seriously, y'all. I was like, wait, how did this happen? He got here to Atlanta? Why not Houston? What is wrong with Jackson, Mississippi? Come on, man. Birmingham? Why are you in Atlanta? How did you get here? That is crazy town. For the life of me, this is going to be such a fun story. So anyway, we used to talk about this every night because we thought it was going to be like a short run, like, 2 weeks tops. They got into like months. We're like, whoa, this is going long. And actually, shout out to Marshall, the plug right here. Yes, Marshall sent this to me. And I've been reaching out to him periodically saying, hey, man, has your news given up on the guy? Because Derek Groves was the last one. He had fallen off the face of the earth, right? And I'm like, hey, man, every now and then I would reach out to Marshall, like, hey, anything new? Apparently the news kind of gave up on him, it sounded like. Well, lo and behold, they didn't stop searching. because they found the dude in Atlanta, of all places. I can't believe this. Let me find another newscast on it.
Outlier. You never really heard much from him or anything on social media. There were no pop-ups or sightings other than tips that may have come into Crimestoppers or something, and we heard law enforcement would vet those tips out, every single one of them, but to no avail. But finally, something came in, something happened, and we were able to track him down to Southwest Atlanta.
I'll be interested to see if that $100,000 Crimestoppers reward for information contributed to this situation, and whether or not it actually was a tip that led to his recapture. I know that we do have 2 crews that are headed to the scene. They're in Atlanta, 2 different affiliates that we've been working with to try and get you the latest information on how this all unfolded and what the latest will be for Derek Groves as he was taken into custody around 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Atlanta is going to Atlanta.
Partnerships that we have with other stations across the country. I mean, they jumped at the opportunity, and we were able to get that video back and actually see perhaps Derek Groves in the back of that cruiser there.
Yeah. I think we do have one of the reporters on the scene if we want to join them.
Here, I got a better one. Hold on one second. All right. All right, here's another one. This was actually shorter. Crazy. Can we real quick, green hearts in the chat that y'all can hear this newscast. One second. Sorry about that. How in the world did he get in my town? Who invited him? Who invited him? Let me fix that. Sorry about that, y'all. Sorry about that. Green hearts, let me know if you can hear this. It's not showing up.
Now, this is coming from U.S. Marshals and federal officials, is that they were acting on a tip from Crimestoppers New Orleans and other information reporting that Groves had possibly been in the Atlanta, Georgia area. They went to a house, and that is where they found Groves in the last 30 to 45 minutes. It is our understanding from federal U.S. Marshals that Derek Groves is in custody right now. When he'll be extradited back to New Orleans, that is not known. But as everybody knows by now, Groves was one of 10 people to break out of the Orleans Justice Center, which is just another name for the jail.
Crazy.
In the city of New Orleans back in May. 9 other inmates had been captured. Many believe that Groves could possibly have been the mastermind of this entire escape. Derek Groves is a convicted killer, having been found guilty of killing numerous people on Mardi Gras Day several years ago. He has now been on the run for several months, but now on October 8th, he has now been brought to justice in the Atlanta area in southwest Atlanta. We are waiting for video from the scene. It's our understanding that Atlanta PD as well as federal officials raided a house a few hours ago. They were tipped off that Groves could have been there. And now, according to U.S. Marshals, he in fact was there. Joining us live, the point person for a lot of this, U.S. Marshal Brian Fair. Brian, first off, congratulations on ending now what has been almost a 6-month search for Derek Groves.
Thank you, and can't take credit for it. This was a team effort through multiple law enforcement agencies and with support from Crimestoppers GNO.
So if you can talk about this, you have done a lot of interviews. You told us back in May it may take weeks, it may take months, but we will eventually catch Derek Groves. I know that the investigation is still fresh. It's actually happening right now, but how did you all track him down to Georgia, to southwest Georgia? Was it essentially just a tip called into Crimestoppers?
It was a combination of tips that we received from Crimestoppers GNO and then follow-up work done by the U.S. Marshal Service over the last couple months. We developed information that he was possibly at a house on Honeysuckle Street in Atlanta, Georgia. And this morning, from what you saw in the news, was the follow-up of that. The U.S. Marshals New Orleans Task Force sent a collateral lead out to the U.S. Marshals Southeast Regional Fugitive Task Force in Atlanta. They, along with the Atlanta PD SWAT team, acted on that tip. And behind the scenes, there was a lot of investigative work done here in New Orleans by the Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office, the New Orleans Police Department, Louisiana State Police, FBI, HSI, and the U.S. Marshals. So there was a lot of manpower, hours, and investigation that went into this to today's result.
Yeah, and look, Brian, we're all going to have a lot of questions. So is the general public watching this right now. Do you know how long he's been in Atlanta?
I got
or
questions.
How he got there? I mean, obviously he didn't fly. Does it seem like somebody transported him across state lines to try to hide him out in Georgia?
I don't want to speculate at this time. I would guess that, yeah, somebody probably did help transport him there. That's going to be a follow-up investigation that will be done. It is possible additional people go to jail.
And is this the kind of thing, this does bring a close to this, with the exception of the investigation still going on at OPSO, but is this a day that people can breathe a big sigh of relief that all 10 inmates are finally back in custody? Yes,
I would say this is that day that you can finally, relax a little bit now that this has finally been done. It's taken quite a few months. We're just happy it's over. It took several hours once they went to the house today. He was hiding in a crawl space. A lot of manpower hours and effort and equipment had to be used today to get him out of the house.
And he came out without incident, or did he put up any kind of fight? I know these are details that are still coming into you as well.
I would not call this without incident. There was probably a 3 or 4 hour, I don't know if we'd call it a standoff, where we didn't know if he was in the house or not. Nobody was there, but ultimately he was located in a crawl space in the house.
Does it seem, I mean, look, Brian, I know this is all going to come out in the investigation, but do you believe he's been there for several weeks or months? I mean, is this the kind of place that he went to back in May and has just been holed up in Southwest Atlanta since?
That's going to take some more follow-up work. I would say we probably believe he's been there for a little while, but we don't know how long. It's going to take a lot more follow-up work on that end.
And look, is this the kind of thing, too, where you all have exhausted a lot of man hours and time, but this is what the U.S. Marshals do. I mean, you track down people who are wanted by local, state, and federal law enforcement.
Crazy.
While you've seen the task force get smaller, where NOPD, OPSO, state police had to pull some people back because they had to go on with other cases, the U.S. Marshal's office never stopped working on this.
Correct. And they still had people assigned to the case. Like state police has somebody assigned full-time on our task force. So does Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office. So those people continue to work, and LSP and Orleans continue to support our efforts during that time. So did HSI and FBI. The scale got a little smaller, but like I said, we at that point, once the majority of them were captured, we were able to focus more on Mr. Groves.
And look, I don't know if you can see it, Brian. We were taking a live look. That looks like a federal and state SWAT team. As we talk to you, we have a live picture from Atlanta here where they just brought him to justice. If you can walk us through the process for something like this, because I think everybody is captivated by it and wants to know, they want to see the veil pulled back. You make a call to your counterparts in Georgia, and is it basically they go to work immediately? I mean, this looks like a high-level task force here of highly skilled officers, SWAT team members right now surrounding that house that brought him to justice.
Yeah, correct. Well, so a lead is set out. They also have their own work to do, remember, like they have their own cases. That are violent offenders as well. So they prioritize cases. Obviously, this was a big one. So they prioritized it and began working it. And it may not, I mean, some people would think, oh, it's just very simple. You just run out to the address and go knock on the door. It doesn't work that way. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that goes on to before you even go knock on a door. And that's what you saw today. There was a lot of work done. Like I said, Crimestoppers GNO provided significant support all summer long. And even today, so it took some effort to get the result that we had today.
And look, Groves is different than the rest of these escaped inmates because he has been convicted of murder. He will spend the rest of his life, per his sentence, at Angola without probation or parole. Did it make him more of a flight risk? Did it make it more of a high-risk matter, given the fact that, I hate to use this term, he really had nothing to lose because, unlike a lot of these escapees who were pretrial detainees waiting for their day in court, Groves knows his fate. He is going to the state prison at Angola for the rest of his life.
No, I would say that is a factor. Yes, at least it adds to our risk. We do assess what we're working on each case and determine what might have more of a risk. And obviously, he would be way up there because he's looking at not ever being released from prison.
Now, walk us through the process. And I know we've seen this before back in May and June when you made the rest of these. He'll eventually end up in a jail in Atlanta. He'll be extradited back here. If you can walk us through that process, it'll probably be a couple of days, I would guess, based on the other cases that the marshals and the state officials have handled. Is that correct?
Yeah, if he doesn't get charged with anything locally there, he will eventually be extradited back to Louisiana. I would think that there may be a chance state police is actually involved in that process as they've already helped extradite several of the other escapees to Angola. So, he'll get booked into the local county he's in. I don't have the county's name in front of me, but the local county in Georgia. And he'll go through a process. He'll either waive extradition or not waive it. And if he doesn't, they'll ultimately get a governor's warrant, and he'll be extradited back to Louisiana.
And look, Brian, this is something you've been involved in with the rest of your team of U.S. Marshals as well as state police and NOPD and OPSO. Atlanta was handling a lot of this. You were waiting for a text message or phone call. When you got it, is there a sense of, okay, finally, it's over. This tip actually led to an arrest, and this is him, because we've seen you all chase a lot of leads. Some of those bear no fruit, but this one obviously did, and now he's in custody.
Yeah, so we were in the office, hovered around our phones and communicating directly with them and waiting on it. So there was a lot of excitement here once we were finally notified that he was in custody. For a while, there was some concern because this drug on for quite a few hours before he was taken into custody. And we've had several tips and investigative things that we've done over the summer that we've been left basically holding the bag or not found him. So we were starting to get a little concerned, but we were confident that there was a pretty good shot that he was in that house.
And look, I know that we've talked to other sources. They told us there were some tips coming in recently. There was some chatter, I guess, that he may have been in the Atlanta area. Is that kind of why you all focus in on this area? When you start getting a lot of tips and a lot of chatter, does it become reality?
Well, there's been multiple tips in Atlanta and other areas in Georgia, and then there was stuff in Texas and other places. So we had to follow up on everything along the way, I would say. And then we had to do our own investigation as well to try to see what we could develop from talking to people, looking through records, and it was all time consuming.
All right, Brian Fair, U.S. Marshal, we appreciate your time. I know that you and your team are probably very happy with this outcome today, that Derek Groves was finally brought to justice.
Yeah, the team is very happy with the end result of this. And when I say team, I mean all the agencies that were involved in this. It's not just the U.S. Marshals. It was all the other agencies in Crimestoppers, GNO. I believe everybody's extremely excited right now.
All right, Brian Fair, U.S. Marshal, we do appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, so you see it right there. You're looking at a graphic of what U.S. Marshal Brian Fair just told us. He was picked up on a street, if you're familiar with Atlanta, Honeysuckle Street. That is in the southwest corner of Atlanta. He was found in a crawl space inside a house. They say he was trying to hide out there, that no one else was in the house. This lasted about 3 or 4 hours where they tried to locate him and found him in a crawl space. He was captured after a brief standoff. Like they said, this wasn't where he refused to come out. It seemed like he was trying to hide and maybe not let police and federal marshals know that he was there. You heard Brian Fair say this was a combined effort. State police, New Orleans, FBI, OPSO, U.S. Marshals, everybody working. And the big thing, we're going to try to get an interview here, if not now, then later on today, with Darlene Costanza. Crimestoppers of Greater New Orleans, they say a tip played a key role in this. So therefore, they have been talking about tips. There is still a $50,000 reward. Hopefully, if somebody did call in that tip and led to this arrest, then therefore it will lead to somebody collecting money, as they have been advertising $50,000 for Derek Groves and any capture of his to anybody who can call in information. But you heard Brian Fair just say right there that a tip in Atlanta, or tip from New Orleans, led to Derek Groves being captured in Atlanta. I'm Travers Mackel. The time is 1:30. We're going to have much more in this developing story, still very much an active scene in Atlanta. You can get the very latest right now on WDSU.com. Keep looking at this live picture. We are going to leave it up from one of our sister affiliate stations in Atlanta so you can see everything going on. It's our assumption Groves has been brought out of the house, but if he doesn't, you will see him leave shortly here. We'll have any updates from any officials live, online, and on TV from anyone in Atlanta. And obviously, we'll have complete reaction from the Sheriff's Office, OPSO, and local leaders here, including the governor and elected leaders who have been very involved in the search for Derek Groves. Until then, let's return you to regularly scheduled programming.
That is crazy. Why? How did this man end up in my town? Okay. Anyway, I'm going to show you real quick. We are still doing our live stream tonight at 6. But just in case you're wondering, all right. So Honeysuckle Lane, it's in Atlanta. It's in the southwest portion of Atlanta, under Mechanicsville, all that kind of stuff. Why is my wife home? Hey. Why's my wife pulling in the garage? Okay. Shout out to my wife. My wife's coming home. All right. Anyway, it's off of Campbellton Road, if you're familiar with that. I used to teach at this elementary school, Perkinson Elementary School, right over here, where Perkinson Park is. So, yeah, this is just such a weird spot to be, but there are a lot of black folk. This is a very black part of town. And people mention it. I mean, it's a nice part of town. Like, it's not terrible to be south of 20. Y'all know I like to pick on south of I-20. There's I-20 right here. Where's the little marker thing? Hold on. Okay, here. So here's I-20 right here. And here's a little school I used to teach at right there at Perkinson Park. So this is Honeysuckle Lane. This is a very nice, a decent neighborhood. I mean, they got hoods here. They got barrios for sure. But this is a pretty nice neighborhood. I have no idea. I would love to hear the story of how he got there. I would love to hear how he ended up in Atlanta, hiding out on Honeysuckle Lane. Whose house is that? Somebody in trouble. There's going to be somebody who get in trouble. That's for sure. He said, mind my business. Okay, well, hey, it's a real thing. Shout out. Thank you so much for the $2 super. I appreciate it. He was visiting Fonnie. Well, I mean, where Fonnie's condo is, let me see. It's down by the airport. My mouse won't move now because I got it on this thing. It's down by the airport. It's not, I mean, it wouldn't be terribly far from there. Hey, here's the airport. And Hapeville is right here. This is Hapeville where Fonnie's condo was. I mean, hey, you know, little holla at. He had to get a little holler in. Shut up, Jason. Get out of here. Y'all, that was fun. Thank y'all so much. I can't believe this, man. They caught Derek Groves all the way from New Orleans. They caught him here in Atlanta. Somebody's going to have to make that make sense. Shout out to Marshall, the plug, for hitting me up with that and reminding me about that. Man, because every now and then I would shoot him a message and say, hey, man, anything about your guy? Did they catch the Pookie? I think he sent me an email saying the Pookie has been caught. I'm like, say less. I'm jumping in. I hadn't even figured out the whole story yet. But once I saw that it was in Atlanta, I was undone. You got to be kidding me, man. Atlanta's got to be stopped. Right. He would have got stuck in the traffic. We do not have that. Look, that is a rumor. That is not true. We do not have good. Now, our traffic here is unequivocally needs Jesus. Okay. That's no question, no doubt. Our traffic needs an exorcism. Hold it down. But it's not no 3 hours of traffic. Stop it. Stop it. That is a rumor. It's 2 hours and 45 minutes. See what I mean? There we go. We don't round up. We round down here in Atlanta. So there we go. It's not no 3 hours. There we go. Thank you, Marshall, the plug. Y'all put Marshall in the chat. Let him. We appreciate it. He sends me some of the best stuff. Shout out to Marshall in the chat. Y'all flood Marshall. And by the way, when you hit the like button, put in what number you were. You know, what number were you? Were you number one? I'm usually number one because I try to like the video as soon as I post it. But, you know, I could fall short. Put your number in there. I appreciate it. We will be doing our live stream at 6 o'clock. I have to go pick up Chief Executive Second Born. But once I do that, and I was going to find out when my wife's home. So we're going to pick up Chief Executive Second Born. I'll be ready at 6 o'clock. I don't know. I heard Houston has bad traffic, but I don't know it intimately, of course. I know Atlanta traffic very, very much. But Atlanta traffic just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. No, the movie version, the Nola Pookie Escape, coming summer 26. Hey, they need some new material. This will be something new. This will be new. Marshal the plug. Absolutely. This will be something new. So y'all, thank you so much for rocking with me. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out the door. Hit green hearts in the chat on your way out. Make sure you tip your waiter. I'll see you all at 6 o'clock. Until then, grace and peace, my friends. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Jay Whip Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.